Good morning. Welcome back. There's Frankie. He's acting like he's satisfied, relaxed. Huh. Being a good boy. Yeah. Thank you for the compliment on my t-shirt. Sunflowers are fun, huh? I love sunflowers. And I did get it nice and big so it can go over my butt. It's not choking me because I only really like V-necks anymore. So not sexy, but oh so comfy. I forgot to put my leave-in conditioner in my hair last night. I did not put any coconut oil on it either. So it is a wiry mess. This would be a perfect day to straighten my hair, but the humidity outside might keep me from doing it because matter of fact, I just threw away a hair protectant called C-H-I, because it's supposed to help. I bought it because it's supposed to help. I had one of their straighteners once. It's supposed to help protect your hair, but the smell, I'm sorry, I just can't do it. So I usually only straighten my hair when it's actually weather conducive, so that the light gel that I use can protect my hair and not the smell. I'm very sensitive to smells. They last just a few minutes, fine, but that chai stuff, that smell lasts until it's washed off. I mean, days. I've never seen anything like it. It's so gross. That's just my opinion. Frankie, I know you're not going to start, because I will put you out. Okay. I'll give you a treat. Here you go. So, what a day, huh? It's so beautiful outside. I'm kind of pouting a little bit because I got whiplash this last week, and I felt so good yesterday. I overdid it in the yard, and I am suffering today. Really pouting, I guess. I guess I am kind of pouting. Damn it to hell. Ugh. All right, fine. Okay, back to business. I want to thank you all for your messages in my last few videos. So yes, I am going to straighten my hair one of these days. And oh, I wanted to thank Vera for bringing up hats instead of the SPF all the time. Some of us just have a hard time having it around our eyes and the smell or the way it affects our skin. So thank you for that. I love big hats, and I almost always wear them when the weather's decent. It's not gonna blow it off my head. When I go for walks like downtown to have lunch, or when they have the what's it called? Where they have the sidewalk sales. It's usually like on a weekend or a Wednesday or Thursday night, art in the park kind of thing. I love hats. And I want to do a shout out to Bernice, Vera, Marjorie, and Grace. Vera. Because y'all really encouraged me with your messages this week. Just so sweet. And I just want to say thank you so very much. And of course, Carmen and Carol, Eileen and Linda. We really do think quite a bit alike. I love that. And Janet. Hello. And Diana, I want to give you a shout out because you mentioned a foundation. What was it? El Mirage? Something like that. Well, what I did was I looked it up, and I decided with all of the foundations I have, I could wait to get that. But when I looked it up, I found evidently a bunch of reviews have decided this was a dupe. And Temu sells it. So I got this for like $5. I didn't know what color to get. Everything off there, really, it's a gamble. These are 2 different colors. They're just numbers as far as I can tell. They have a terrible way of doing their colors, and then the colors aren't even on the bottles. But it even says "woke up like this" on the back, and I guess that's the slogan for that makeup. So I'm going to try this today as well. Oh, it has a pump. I was trying to screw it. I thought, oh no, this is going to be a mess because it wasn't screwing, but it's a pump. Yay. Okay, so let's see how it works. I'm going to use my fingers so I can see how much I like it. It smells like it reminds me a little bit of a unscented makeup where there's just a little bit of scent, and it reminds me for a moment of Wet n Wild. You know how it smells a little bit, that smell is like chemical, but it doesn't smell as strong as Wet n Wild by far. This is just like a very hint. Okay, I can tell you this. I like the way it smooths on. It's moisturizing. It feels really good. It looks really good. Holy cow. You know what? This is Diana. This is so nice. Now, this may not be your high end. Yes, it's a, you know, if you try this, evidently a lot of people have tried both of them and found this as a dupe. Sorry, I was getting a flake of something. I was out playing with the dogs. I took a shower last night, so I know it's not left over from working in the yard, but I was outside running with the dogs. You know what? This blends every bit as nice as this. Moisturizing, every bit as nice as that. It's a little less shiny, which I don't have a problem with. Very light, very natural. If this is anything like the original, if this dupe is anything like the original, dang, that's nice. But this is nice. And it's half the price of this. So I'm sold. I like it. I like it. I like it. I probably won't get the original just because I really like a bargain. Yeah. Since I've discovered makeup that's so, you know, drugstore priced, I'm sorry, I just have a hard time spending more money. If this makeup, if drugstore makeup wasn't as good, the original of this would be worth the price. Yes, you're right. It probably would last a year. I like that. So, I don't know. Diana, if you try this makeup, please let me know what you think of it. Because a lot of people said it's a perfect dupe. So it's just that it's hard to find the right shade because the shades aren't. The marketing on Temu is sometimes, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to order any more shoes from there. It's too much hassle. Gosh. I don't know. I don't think. I don't know. I say no, and then I do it anyway. Who knows, right? Oh, okay. So here's what I was going to talk to you about. I got encouraged to discuss a little bit about tones of voices. Remember I said to bring your voice down. Pretend there's a speaker here in your chest. Just to experiment. Just to see if it makes you feel any different. More relaxed, more confident. You know, some people, even when they bring it down, and this is fairly rare, to be honest with you, they have been born with smaller voice cords, smaller diaphragms, smaller what have you, even though they're in an adult body. That's not very common. And even then, there's still some help through the exercises that can help give a little more flexibility. I'm not a professional voice coach, but from what I understand. Also, a lot of us, I don't anymore, but when I was younger, I had a telephone voice. And you know what? That dried up so nice. It does look like natural skin. I don't think I'm going to put any powder on. I have enough wrinkles right now that, because I've been using Retin-A fairly consistently at night. Excuse me. Get a couple of my mustache hairs. Anyway, so we have a telephone voice. No biggie. Looks like I'll be shaving here pretty soon. But you know how some of these are like, my grandma called them goat hairs. Some of them just grow really fast. Because normally I stay up on top of it with tweezing. And then about once a month, they just need to be shaved. Everything all at once, because the peach fuzz gets long. Okay, so anyway, back to voices. We have been trained through culture that our service voice needs to be sweet. That's why our telephone voice sometimes is different. It's so that we sound approachable, friendly, helpful on the phone. And that's good for business, right? That's understandable. But when we use telephone voice too squeaky, too too high. It's like this. It's like, hello, how can I help you? See, that's a little higher, a little higher. That way it still sounds a little genuine, right? I'm incorporating both this and this together. But when we go up like this, hey, how you doing? What can I do to help you? See, it doesn't sound very genuine. Right. It sounds fake. And like we're trying to be more docile and cheerful and very childlike, right? So I know I'm being a little dramatic, but you get the point. Well, a lot of people do this because they feel like it's a way to protect themselves. Like if you won't hit me, or you won't challenge me, or you won't bully me, if I look like a sweet little girl, if I sound like a sweet little girl, you won't give me a hard time. But if I sound like an adult, you'll feel like we can actually converse, communicate, negotiate as adults because I sound like an adult. That's why a lot of people who use the high-pitched voice get overlooked for promotions and for sex. If it's a mature adult male or person, they're not going to want to have sex with a little girl. Well, you know, hopefully. Also, it's sort of a play dumb card. Like if I'm not very smart, you won't challenge me. You won't make me do things that I don't want to do. Sometimes it's a manipulation tool. And that's not a bad thing. It's just sort of a learned thing. Is if I act like a sweet little girl, then you're going to keep doing things for me. And I don't have to work as hard, or I don't have to try as hard, or I don't have to, you get the idea. Now, that isn't always something that's done consciously. Sometimes it's done because we were taught that. Yeah? Yeah. Sometimes we're taught how to play small by watching the other females in our life as a child. Or we learn it off of watching TV. Whatever. Okay, so also playing small, that little girl voice. Sometimes we think if they think I'm a little girl, they won't hit me as hard. They won't insult me as much. Because subconsciously they'll think a little girl doesn't deserve to be treated like that. That's very popular. I mean, that's very common. That's probably the most common in my work, is that women who speak with a feminine, childlike voice, higher pitched voice, they're looking for safety. Because normally you hit a child, if you're going to be a physical disciplinarian, you hit a child at a certain age this hard, a child this age this hard, and a child this age that hard, right? And so what happens is the high-pitched speaking person is speaking at the tone of what they hope the physical or emotional punishment is going to be at. Kind of tough, right? Very sad. So the bad news is, and this is the bad news, is that very, very often backfires. Because if you're with somebody who has that kind of MO of how they deal with your relationship issues. It's usually someone who not only doesn't care that they hurt you, but they're enjoying the savageness of it. Or there's someone who wishes they could be normal, wishes they could communicate, but it's hard to do when you're both using tools that don't work. So what happens with some people, and this happens, we hear a lot of this happening in recovery, where a lot of people, they see the damage, the hurt in the person's eyes and how little they look, and then they get really angry because now they're resentful that they feel like you're making them out to be even a worse person than they know that they are. So that's where you'll hear sometimes a narcissist, or sometimes somebody who is so frustrated with their communication skills. So it can look very similar. So I'm not calling anybody out as a narcissist, because we're all a little narcissistic. We all want our way. But they will resent you for making them look at themselves. Narcissists don't get mad and punish you because you're making them look at themselves. Narcissists will never do that. That's just not what they do. They don't look at themselves. Sorry. I know you wish they would, but they won't. They might look like they do. They might fake act like they do, but they don't. So anyway, here's one of the things you can do, especially if you don't want to leave the relationship, is exercise growing up. Exercise using your grown-up voice. Exercise using your grown-up posture. Be very careful not to overcompensate. That's very common in the beginning. So I just want you to watch out for that. Very often people will overcompensate, and that just makes things worse, because then you come across arrogant. I know it's a tough walk, but you can do it with practice. And you know, if you and your partner have any level of communication, you could even bring it up and just say, you know what, I'm trying something new. I'm just going to try something new. I'm going to try to stand up taller, and I'm going to try to use a different part of my voice to see if it helps me relax. Because you will find that it will help you relax, because it's more natural. It takes less effort. And you think it takes less effort to do it the other way because you're just used to it. It's habit, right? So, you know, and some people say that we feel that we've some people are saying that it's a sign that you've been abused as a child, especially sexually abused as a child. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. There are very, very, very few people who haven't been sexually abused, physically or not physically, physically, sexually abused. Very few people who haven't had something. It's just some personalities see it for what it is. Like somebody else has got a problem, I'm going to stay away from them. Some people had parents or siblings that listened to them and was able to protect them and keep them away from the perpetrator again. Not everybody carries that the total family breakdown and dysfunction to where the child isn't able to feel safe at some level. That's a difference. That's a big difference. So when we're adults, we have to really sometimes challenge ourselves to decide what we're willing to trade in ourselves, for ourselves, to have a different experience with what's left of our lifetime. I used to have a childlike voice, especially on the phone, because then I'm using my additional telephone voice. And that's when I was told by some people, wow, you probably shouldn't use that telephone voice. I've had a couple close people tell me that, and I was like, what are you talking about? I'm just being friendly. They're, yeah, but you already have a high enough pitch voice that when you do that, it sounds like truly a little girl, which was supported by the fact that here I was, young, a business owner. I would answer the phone and people would say, oh, hi, can I talk to your mom? Oh, hi, can I talk to a business owner? Because I didn't sound like a business owner. I sounded like a little kid that actually accidentally answered the phone. That's the truth. So that's when I talked to my counselor about it. And she says, oh, yeah. She says, well, maybe it's time to start practicing recognizing where your voice is coming from and making an effort to, maybe you're ready. Maybe you're ready for this. She says, good for you. I didn't think you were ready yet. But I'm telling you what, she was also one of the people who taught me that if one person says it and they're always putting me down, that's one thing. But if I'm hearing it from several different people, she says, if you're hearing the same message 3 times, let's talk about it. That was very wise. And I've carried that with me to this day. So, okay. Sometimes my eyelashes are so pointy because I don't curl them, that they'll lock into each other. Especially when the mascara is wet. But it looks like it's doing okay. Okay. So, continue recognizing where the tone is coming from. Continue noticing different posture that might make you talk a little bit more nasally, right? Because if you're like this, you're not really getting the oxygen that you need, right? So practice shoulders up, back, and down, up, back, and down. And think of yourself as being a Christmas tree ornament, and you're being hung from the top on the Christmas tree. So your neck is in alignment with your spine and your hips. And so that it's just an easier way to feel like you're taking up your space as a human being, right? Your space. Like I get this much space. Let's see if I left anything out. Telephone voice, protection, whether you know it or not, whether it's innocent or manipulative, we'll use it for protection. So we have to decide how brave we are to be able to use our words in communication to get our needs met like an adult, instead of pretending to be super vulnerable or silly or shy or ignorant, right? So there's books like How to Talk to Your Teens or your kids so they'll listen. That's a great help. Nonviolent Communication, A Language for Life, long title. The Verbally Abusive Relationship, that's really good too. Excellent. So and we talk about fear, right? I want you to understand that if you're afraid of somebody, please get centered. Get centered. Get out a paper and pen and think about it. What is it this person could do to you? What have they done to you? What have they threatened to do to you? Let's get real. Is this person dangerous to you? If they are, we need to have another conversation about having a safety plan, having an exit plan, because we don't want you dead. Now, if that list is tightly attached to your past experiences with your parents, like things like, I'm afraid they'll leave me. Well, maybe. So what can we do to help you feel safer if they leave you? Because humans leave each other. Well, I'm afraid they'll take away my car or take away my whatever. Okay, so let's figure out, how could you get around if they take the car? Do you need a job? Can you take Uber? Can you take public transportation? Do you need to get a job that is close enough to walk so that you can afford to someday buy your own car? I'm afraid they won't buy me a purse that I want for Christmas. Okay, so then we have to look at, what are your priorities for having dignity over a handbag, right? So we have to kind of look at that. Is it because they're just always throwing little jabs and digs at you? Okay, so if you grow up, what's going to happen? How are they going to react to you? That might feel very dangerous. They might really lash out. So you have to be able to decide whether the trade-off in staying in that relationship is worth it to you. What's the trade-off? Make a list of all the things that person who's mean to you, please make a list of all the things that you're staying for. You don't have to show anybody the list, because some people are kind of embarrassed. I'm staying for financial security. I'm staying for physical safety, because even though he treats me like I'm not respected or appreciated at all, at least I know if someone physically attacks me, he'll protect me because I'm his property or whatever, right? And you have to understand that if you feel just afraid of the world, sometimes it just feels safe having someone in the house, right? So you have to really, if you want to calm down and build your confidence at all, even if you're too afraid to change your behaviors, you have to decide, if you face the truth of why you're in that relationship, sometimes, oftentimes, it reduces your own personal stress level because you know what's going on. You know why you're there. Then you don't have that extra stress anymore of being a victim, right? Because if you're kidnapped and being held hostage, wow, do you really want to live that way? Are you poor and own nothing? Do you have no way of building security and safety in your life other than being in this relationship? Okay, let's accept that and move on. How then can we have a fairly satisfying life? Well, that you generally, practically speaking, means, what can I do to lift my own self-esteem? Meaning my own behaviors that are esteemable by me, appreciated and respected by me. How can I feel a modicum of dignity in my life that makes me feel good? So for instance, when the partner in your life says some smart ass remark, you can say, whoa, well, that kind of hurt. Even if you don't say anything else, walk away. You're speaking your truth. Even if it's simple, quiet, and non-confrontational, it's okay to say ouch. Even if that's all you say is ouch. You're not going to believe how good it feels to simply be honest. And that's one of the things that I have done in my life that made me feel like my true self was starting to come alive. I was in an abusive marriage with someone who was refusing to get sober. It's this same marriage that I was in when I was in my first year of sobriety. We had met in AA, and I thought we were Mr. and Mrs. AA. We were going to conquer the world together, both being business owners. Well, that guy took me down and frightened me. Had a very dark side. Also cheated on me with his ex and other women in AA. Pretty embarrassing, right? And I just got lower and lower and lower and lower in my feelings. When I realized, through the help of my counselor, all the demons I was fighting in my world, in my head, by staying in this marriage, this relationship, I was putting my life in danger. So for me, very few other people, so don't play into this, but for me, I had to withdraw. I had to make a plan to leave. I had to do that. I had to do that. And when he came to hunt me down, I was overflattered and went back, only for things to get worse, because now it was punishing me for leaving in the first place. I mean, I went through it. There was a lot of drama there. When I finally practiced my sea legs enough, I finally was able, with lots of help from my good friends in AA and through my counselor and through building my own self-esteem by finding my voice. Whew, that was scary. I was able to separate and mean it. I did get confronted in the street, getting out of my office, and was confronted by him and accused of this or that. And I just had a feeling, I knew somehow I might die. And something lit up inside me that told me I am not going to die denying who I am. I thought about Peter and the rooster crowing 3 times and denying Jesus. I thought of that story. And I felt like this was the 3rd crow. The 3rd time the rooster was crowing. And I decided to tell the truth. No, I'm not coming back. Yes, I am starting my new life without you, and I will not change my mind. I actually was so scared. I think I had a blackout for a moment. But I remember standing strong, standing tall, and being ready to face death. Now, I don't recommend that to everyone, but I'm telling you, I had lived a life of the Walking Dead for so long that I needed to feel real before I died, whether it was that night or 90 years later. Whatever it was, I needed to start practicing being real with myself. But also remember, I already had a place to stay. I already had money. I had a job. I had transportation. And there were other people around. Maybe not close enough that they could have protected me in that moment, but close enough he would have been busted. So I'm sharing this with you because there's almost always hope, whether you stay or whether you leave. And I've had practice doing both. And I know what it's like to be terrified of physical pain. I know what it's like to feel physical pain. I've been punched right in the mouth. I had a lip thing there. And do you know, right there, you can barely see it anymore. But for a long time, there was always this little drop right there. That's a true story. I know what it's like. My mom used to beat me. Beat me. It was part of her stress release program, I guess. So when people say, well, I'm afraid, I'm like, I know what it's like to be afraid. But if you understand what exactly it is that you're afraid of, are you afraid to die? Are you afraid to be cut up, burned, maimed? Or are you afraid to be humiliated and embarrassed? Those are two different things. Are you afraid to have to go out and look for a job? That's different than the physical harm and true terror. I call it true terror because the terror that I was doing was provided by me in my head very many times. I know what it's like to be afraid for my bodily safety, and I know what it's like to be afraid of the crazy ideas that I have going on in my head. You have to figure out, you're the only one who can make that list of why you're in that relationship and start finding your voice. Even if you don't use it very often, even if you only use it with some people and not others, to be able to start lifting your self-esteem. Start remembering that you were put on this planet at this time for a reason. In this body, with this brain, with these yummy feelings. You're an amazing, amazing product of this planet. You're affecting people. Or you could. You never know. I have to go outside and my allergies are so bad. I hang you with me all the time. I hope this was helpful. I love you. I believe in you. And I can't wait to hear from you, to see what you think of some of these ideas. Take a deep breath. Do your homework. Make a list. Make several lists. Be creative. Why am I staying? What would I have to do to go? What am I truly, truly, truly afraid of? For me, I was afraid of being alone forever. For me, back then, I thought I didn't deserve a lot more, and the chances of me getting better were slim to none. Now, I'm not in the perfect relationship according to me, but it's good enough. I've made my list, and I know the reasons I stay in this relationship are good enough for me. They weren't always good enough for me, and that's why I was so miserable. I was embarrassed. No offense to anybody, but I mean, I just had such high standards that I just didn't know how to resolve, how to get around certain obstacles that we had in communication. When I made out my list and really looked at it, I recognized that my spouse's health issues, the mini strokes, in my opinion, they're hard to diagnose, made things worse. And then some more little mini strokes made things better. And me not responding the way I was, trying to take a stand, overconfident, over controlling, because I was so frustrated. When I pulled back on that, plus some brain healing, I imagine, made things easier to deal with. And I'm glad I did. I have a pretty comfortable life, with less and less stress all the time. You know, it's a lot. When you're living with someone who has chronic pain, like I am, who has health issues, one after another, their attitudes can get pretty pissy, right? And it almost doesn't matter what you do. So they just need time and space. And in those little open spots where they're being friendly, just try to enjoy it and appreciate it. And it's really hurtful when they can get enough adrenaline and endorphins going when they're in public and they can be nice, but they come home and try to decompress and then they're just shits again. I get it. Not everybody's marriage is like it is on TV. Stop falling for the crap. Stop falling for it. Most people's relationships have challenges. You just don't know what they are. Turns out, I've got everything I need. I've got a lot of stuff that I want, but don't need. I have protection. I have someone who does care about me, my safety, my happiness. But I also have someone who has some problems with chronic pain that can really upset a happy home if I'm trying to make it a happy home instead of just live in the house and sometimes just make do, right? And get a life. I have a life outside of the relationship as well. Friends, activities, interests. So find your voice, get to know who you are, and remember why you were put on this earth. You were meant to find joy, a childlike appreciation for the little things in life. And you can find that with practice, self-discipline, in how you are cleaning up your side of the street. Commitment to doing little things to build your self-esteem. Being able to say what you mean what you say, and don't say it mean, or try to keep your mouth shut until you have figured out how to do that. Make a list of things that are a priority in your life that you're getting satisfied, even though you're unhappy. Make a list of reasons why you think you should be happy and what could make that possible. There are a lot of things to explore. Don't get stuck in the thinking that you're stuck, because that feels awful. If you stay in the same place, you're not stuck. You're making a decision, right? That's what helped change my life, is I realized I'm making a decision to be where I'm at because it makes sense to me. And sometimes things go pretty well. Maybe just for a few minutes at a time, but it doesn't suck anymore, right? It doesn't suck. Yeah, life changes. You gotta be patient. Sometimes it doesn't change. Sometimes it gets worse. But that depends on whether you're with a true narcissist or not, because they just get entertained. Or if you're with someone who's an active addict or who refuses to go to counseling and get some help. Don't put yourself in a dangerous position. That's just silly. And I would miss you. That's the truth. All right. I love you guys. Hope this made sense. I'm just venting, reminiscing. I feel like I've had a therapy session. And now I'm going to go watch some Hallmark Channel or sit on my portico. Thing is, I'm so sore, but at least now I'm not pouting about it. So that's thanks to you. Mwah. Frankie, say bye-bye. Aww, sweet boy. All right, bye for now.